So, does anyone develop websites, portals? Okay. So, just a disclaimer, it will have very little about machine learning. I will just show some of the projects. It will be mostly about QA and computer vision. So I'm Hugo and Hugo, and for most of, I think about 10 years up to now, it has been mostly working QA, and for the past year and a half, 2 years on machine learning and computer vision. So first things first, it will be quality assurance. And can you spot the error?
Flowers in some flavors.
Yeah, this is actually like a product in production, and it doesn't give a good impression when you market that. So you have QA, quality as a role, and so you have the automated testers, that automated test, software test engineer, software engineering test automation engineer. You have functional engineers, you have quality managers, and you also have quality as a philosophy. So you use best practices, you have your code, you document the lessons learned, you follow software development patterns. So quality is not exclusive to the quality manager, to the tester, to the ones that share a role or a job description. And one case, it could be like Hugo. It was supposed to be $400 million, I think. And when it was finally launched, it was almost $5 billion. One of the costs were, I don't know if you know, but Apple was short-sighted, like the mirror has an imperfection. And one of the reasons was because the machine, one of the machines wasn't properly assembled. So, in terms of quality assurance, well, like many of the presenters today, I'm also lazy. I really hate doing the same thing over and over when, well, I can automate. Does anyone know some of the frameworks? Good. So I mostly use Selenium and JMeter for some load and load tests, and that's pretty much it. So I started to think, like, I can automate pretty much regarding portals. I can automate pretty much everything, but how can I automate it if a website looks like it should be? Because the CSS can be not the same, and it will break the site, right? Even though that all the HTML elements will be there. So I started to question, how does that site, if that site is the same as the other one? And basically, how can I automate my ads, what my ads see? And the ads are fallible, by the way. So I started thinking, machine learning, it was like a buzzword at the moment, and it was promising everything, and I was, okay, so I'll try machine learning. And one of the things that I needed was, well, learn about machine learning. And I actually have several courses on Udemy that I've done, and there's several good videos on YouTube, and Udacity as well, or edX. One of the frameworks that I used was Hugo for the first projects that I started working with, and I don't know if you know Hugo. No? Yes. So basically, yeah. So basically, yellow stands for you only look once. So it looks at this tool and identifies like the truck, bicycle, dog, whatever the classes you try. And so one of the first things I did with machine learning was trying to infer if I could take actions, identify actions, simple actions, from stills. So YOLO, what it does is it will check every image. So if I use to a movie, what the YOLO will be doing is checking each image. So it doesn't have any context between frames. And this one, I was trying to check if I could differentiate between walking and running. So this is walking. And this is running. So you can't read, but it reads the action there and it's run. And then things got complicated. Do you know jogging? Yeah, I don't know if jogging is running or if it's walking. Apparently, the computer doesn't.
Depends on who does it.
Yeah, but apparently the model doesn't either. And I was, okay, this was a fail, but it was a success at the same time, because I don't know. And so what is it? And it all comes down to, if I'm trying to identify an action from a still, well, if you look at the picture, you can try to infer action. Like if someone is doing like this, yeah, it probably is running. Or if you take a still and both feet are off the ground and is like in action like running, so probably you're running. And when you're walking or not walking, but so there are some features that identify as running and walking. So that's what I did. And that's why he got confused with the jogging. So another project that I've worked, Alex Nebel, and it was to, my part was to identify pilots, also with YOLO. And smart parking. This is the video that I'll show you. And this is it's not the whole project. This was just a proof of concept, just to identify if when he parks on somewhere where he shouldn't. So this is quite simple. He's just identifying cars. He's actually identifying pretty much all these cars. The only thing I want to know is if any of them is parking where it shouldn't. And yeah.
That was Joao, right?
Yeah,
No, that was Ricardo.
and you can see
And I was the white one. Yeah, because for us to have these images, we have to use our cars.
yeah, you can see
To have optimization.
You need real idiots doing these, right?
It wasn't like Friday. So this is quite simple. So, and we come to automated visual validation. So the first question that I was making, how can I automate checking if a website is the same as the other? Well, there are tools that do that, and they are quite expensive. Then there are some that are not expensive, and they are even open. Problem is, they do it like pixel by pixel, and that doesn't quite work. Like the website can change the resolution, can change several aspects. So when Ricardo started talking about GitLab and Axians developer conference, I was thinking, well, I never got to do a solution for the problem that I had. So why don't I do a solution for that and host on GitLab, since it was trying to promote GitLab, and it could be useful for well, everyone else that works with websites and needs to validate. So I came up with it's easy, or it is. And the puns begin is a colleague of ours said, well, it reads like it's sleazy. So you can do all the puns that you want. But basically it was, it's IT, it's and it should be easy to use. So basically it's a set of APIs. It should be able to use with pretty much most automated frameworks, but it also has a back office. Well, at least a simple one. And how does it work? How can we compare the differences? Can you see the difference here?
The bottom features is cropped.
No. But close enough.
It's not yet cropped.
It's the cookie disclaimer.
I couldn't say this.
Yeah, it's a cookie disclaimer. But the computer was able to identify it. You saw it as it seemed like cropped because of the color.
Yeah.
So, also, so it does that. Let me just go back. So it does that using structural similarity, or SSIM. And what it does is, well, like the name says, it checks the structure of the image and has some leeway, like in lighting, or like different aberrations in pixel. So it doesn't, it's not pixel by pixel. And then you have template matching. What template matching will do is check, this is a template, by the way, and this is the image that I want to check. What it's going to do is check if that template, or this is the globe of this image, in that case, so that template exists and where on this image. And it does. So it identifies perfectly where it is, or should be. This was done with Python, with Flask, Swagger for the, I don't know if you know Swagger, so to document the API, and with OpenCV for the computer library. And so to show you, can you see? Okay. So basically, it has a structure that has a test plan, so it's the top level. You need to have, to create a test case, you need to have a test plan to assign to it, and to create a test run, it's always for a test case. And so the API is documented. And you can use it directly or use the back office, which is well, easier. So, and for a full cycle, so we're going to create, so a test plan, And then we can add the test case. And we need to use a baseline in the image for the test. So we here have the baseline. So we can define so the region of interest, a ROI, and we could, for example, say that we don't want to validate this. You can see. So here is green. Or we can just start a test run. Let me use this image and start the test, and it will fail. So we can see side by side why it failed. So it identifies this area and doesn't match this one. But we can change that. So we can go and say that we want this area. I don't know if you noticed it changed the tone. The color of the cookie disclaimer doesn't help, but it changed to greenish. And all we need to do is resend the test run, the new test run. And this time it will pass. And it's already marked. So we will ignore. So what I just did, it was tell it to ignore that difference in specific.
You can use this for any application if you want. Website.
Website. Probably you could use as well, like taking pictures and use the template matching to try, but it's not. The feature is developed, but it's not coded as a service. So it's there on the library that was created, just not yet implemented. So for this POC, it was just the structure similarity.
What are the main objectives of doing something like that? Mistakes being updated of information, changes, unexpected changes,
Dynamic content.
some attacks.
Or dynamic content, that's what I'm going to show now. So the Axians.com page has, like, this part is dynamic. It's a carousel that changes images. So and this test failed precisely because of that. Because I took another picture from that site, a screenshot from that site, and this area doesn't match this one, because this is a carousel that changed, I think it's 3 images or 2. So on a dynamic site, or like if there was a clock in here, it will change all the time. So maybe I want to verify if that site is exactly the same as it was, but since there's like a timer or dynamic context like this carousel or any other, I want to disregard. I don't care what the changes are, but for that dynamic context. But I want to check if everything else is the same. And that's a use case for this.
Does it register if you change the background, but the text is, does it register the text above the background?
You would need to create, it doesn't, at the moment it doesn't. Probably you could, but you would need to create another test case for it. So if you want to validate the text, you probably, if it's just an image, you probably need to, you can use this one. If it's to validate the text, you could probably use it, but with another test case. And you probably would need to use also the template matching. It's there on the library that I coded, but it's not implemented yet. So with the template matching, you probably could just try to find this part and confirm if it's there. So now I'm going to select this one to be an exception as well for the differences and accept that difference going forward. So and it passed. Since I put this area as an exception, so now the test is passing, although it doesn't have a cookie disclaimer, and this part is dynamic, and the image is not the same on this area. And you can also set the regions of interest manually without having to send a test case file and do it again. And I'll show you.
This is on the code.axians.com right now.
No, I'm going to publish after the.
Thank you.
The repository is already there, just not published. So I can go select this area. Oops. Yeah. First I need to enter the edit first. So I'm going to select this area, manual, and you will just mark. And I have this here just to confirm that what's the coordinates that it's using. So let's do update Roy. And it passed. So this is pretty much like the first test that I did, but I had to do it in 2 steps. I had to fail, accept that difference as an exception, and then do. But I don't need. I just need to define which areas I want to make an exception for changes, and just do the run test.
This could be very useful if you have a lot of dynamic content changes and updates, and you want to guarantee that, well, the UX design, the weekend, and it's still compliant with all that was designed. There's also some content that you know it's technically, yeah. Sorry. You could let me just take an image. Yeah, this one. So if the template matching was already implemented, the same way that I do this and tell it that it's an exemption, I could, for template matching, I could do this and say something else can be here as well. And for example, I could swap this one. So this is the base, and I would use like the template for the template matching would be like the cookie disclaimer. And I could take this one, say in here it will be something, and say, okay, check me if in this area, this template I'm searching is there. So, for example, I never visit a site and I want to confirm that the cookie disclaimer is there. So, bam, I don't need to get all the site. I just need to confirm how the template, the cookie disclaimer in this case, is, and if it's there. So I'm saying cookie disclaimer, but it could be
Well, that's a good topic.
check if this area is there, this area is there, this area is there.
It's a good topic for GDPR.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Could you automate that to, for example, you have a portal that you have developed, and could you automatically extract the images and then run like a script to do that in batch?
So, taking an example for Selenium, if you automate tests for Selenium and check, like you do all the, who has used Selenium here? Okay. So, if you're validating a website or something, you can do all the validations, and since this is an API call, you could, well, call the API, send the image. The image is, you have to send the image in base64. As it's coded now, can be changed as you need. So you could do all the Selenium tests and do like the final step, just validates if that's in that site, it's as it should.
Like integrating it with the DevOps.
Yeah, technically, you could use like JUnit. You could use TestNG, JUnit, integrate well, whatever. Since this is just an API call.
Yeah.
Just to show. So the only thing is, at the moment, you need to create a test case, and I'll show you after, but you need to create a test case and then a test run. There's no automated process. Like you could insert just the ID of the test plan, and if nothing else, you would create a test case and the test run. There's nothing like that. So this is what I use just to test. So whatever you can always call the APIs and send. So and start to test.
You're applying these to websites and all that, but you can apply these to a production line.
Yeah.
Imagining you can take pictures of the boxes and the boxing process and the labels, and you say, I want the label in this position, and then disregard a lot of stuff that might appear there. You could have this automated just to say there's a non-compliant boxes here.
As it is now, not really. There's too much differences, but it's possible. But
I was just moving on.
in the case that I showed of that box at that Falvers, yeah, probably if it was, but well, it's not as it stands now. It's not done. So as to do template matching, as I said, the feature is working standalone. But for the service, it's not implemented yet. The other thing, it was like automatic creation of the test case and test run. So if you're using Selenium, you could just give the plan ID, it creates the first time, and I could put in review. So if it's created like this, it's in review, and then you just need to go and create the regions of interest. Also, the ROI, the region of interest, doesn't have a change history at the moment, so a versioning. So if you change the ROI, the older test cases, the test runs, they will still have the parts that failed, but not the base image that was on this side. It will be, it won't show the difference. So the test image itself, for the test run it will, the other one it won't. Also, the region of interest resilience. So if I manually create the region of interest, if you miss for a pixel, it will fail. Just because there's a pixel there's different. So I also need to put some resilience to the right. So, for example, a margin of 5 pixels, 10 pixels. Any questions?
Perfect timing, Hugo. Hey, really good show. Thank you.